Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Black Women in Corporate America. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to highlight two things really quick before we jump in. Number one, I may have mentioned this, maybe I've been thinking of my other podcast, but this episode is a significant milestone. And the reason I say that, and I looked up these statistics, which were very interesting actually, and I'm going to look them up again because I'm forgetting part of the statistic that is pretty key when it comes to podcasts. But one of them I learned through joining the Black Podcasters Association. Shout out to Black Podcasters Association, to all its members, and also to its creators. It's a great community of podcasters who are fellow like-minded individuals, and it's just been really welcoming, and I've learned a lot just from the little time that I've been there. But something that I thought was really interesting about podcast statistics, and let me see if I can look it up, just give me 1 second. So the first thing that I learned, and I learned this through the Black Podcasters Association, is that about 50% or more of podcasts don't make it to their 6th episode. So already breaking ground in terms of not being another statistic when it comes to podcasts. So I'm pretty pleased about that. But some additional statistics that I learned that really was surprising to me, and I didn't even realize and would have been worth celebrating a couple episodes back, is that it's estimated that as many as 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3. And it really blew my mind because here I am on episode 6, still going, still pushing. And it's just really exciting to not become a statistic. And it really just got me thinking about the work that we do as content creators. It can be especially tough when you're not feeling like you're breaking ground and that you're making progress, but you have to keep going. And it's really important to keep going because, and I mentioned this in my last episode, you don't know how close you are to your breakthrough, how close you are to the other side of made it, right? So it's just really something good to keep in mind. So if you're a content creator, especially if you're a fellow podcaster, hey, count down like I did, because I was telling myself, look, I just have to make it to episode 6. And here I am, episode 6. And technically, if we're being technical, this is actually episode 7 because I did post a midweek podcast or episode earlier this week. I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday. I can check my notes and I'll plug it in. But I did a full-on sneak peek for Playing the Game While Black Women in Corporate America. So those of you who are still on the fence about this book, I went and did a whole sneak peek, behind the scenes look, behind the cover is what I called it, of Playing the Game While Black Women in Corporate America. I gave away some serious tea in that episode, let me tell you. It was about 20 minutes, and it's a 2-person podcast episode that really does a deep dive of some of the key foundational concepts of the book. So if you're trying to get a sneak peek, if you're still on the fence, which honestly, by this point, you should just have the book. You should just go ahead and get that book because it's going to change your life. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote it, partly, sure, but also because it changed my life in writing it. I have heard from those who have read it so far, who have told me how beneficial it has been already, the amount of principles they can immediately apply, how practical it is. So look, just get the book. Get the book. If you don't want to spend out of pocket, if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, if you have Audible, you can get the book for free. So you can go ahead and try before you buy. I know it's going to be money well spent. It is $14.99. You can spend a whole lot more on executive coaching and above trust me, it'll be the best $14.99 you've ever spent. I'm just saying. All right. So that's my little quick promo, but seriously, go check my podcast list on YouTube and you will see the sneak peek. It posted earlier this week. If you want to know what all of the rules are, yes, the rules are in there. I've told all 7 rules, which I said I wasn't going to do, but I went ahead and shared that to you. So go check that out. Even talking about chapter 2, which is learn the participants. Go check it out. You're going to get a whole wealth of information without even buying the book. And then if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. Maybe once the book is on the New York Times bestseller list, because yes, I am claiming that for myself this year. You heard it here first. I will be on the New York Times bestseller list before 2025 is over. That's the end, point blank, period. That's all there is to it. So anyway, thank you for coming back. Really excited to have you here. If you have found me on YouTube, please share and subscribe. If you are listening to me on Spotify, Red Circle, Apple Podcasts, Audible, or Amazon Music, welcome. Please go ahead and hit that like, the follow, whatever button will get you to keep coming back so you get your frequent reminders. Go ahead and do that right now and then come right back, because you can always pause this, but it is so easy to forget. So just go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and hit that like button. Please support me. This is a labor of love. And the more support I can get, we can really start building momentum and really keep things going. So there we are for my little spiel on what I wanted to share, and just a moment of celebration that we are officially at episode 6. But between you and me, technically it's episode 7. I'm just saying. All right. So that out of the way, I wanted to tease out a few of the topics that I mentioned on episode 5. I don't want to spread through too many topics because I want to make sure that they have enough attention and time. Real quick, another quick announcement or housekeeping item I should point out, and then we'll get into it. I wanted to just put out an open call, and this is something that I have already done on LinkedIn, and so I'm now extending the call out a little bit broader. I am opening my virtual doors for guest spots on my podcast. So as I mentioned out of the gate on episode 1, I would be bringing on guest speakers. Yes, I already have some in mind that I'm currently discussing and negotiating with. But in the meantime, I want to have a lineup through the end of the year, and that's where you come in. I want to hear from you if you've gone through the corporate gauntlet, as I call it, and came out the other side. Maybe a bit worse for wear, but you made it. So if you want to tell your story, whether that is anonymously or not, I'm happy to give you a platform. Please let me know. Please share your story. I know there's a lot of them out there. I have reached out to a few folks that I would love to have on the show. But if you're hearing this and you've got a story to share, please reach out. I have a messaging inbox on LinkedIn. If you're not reaching me on LinkedIn, leave a comment on YouTube. You can also send an email through delnickmedia.com. Delnick Media is the parent company for this podcast, and that is spelled D like David, E like elephant, L like Larry, N-I-C. delnickmedia.com. You can leave a message through the contact us form that we have there. You can also email info@delnickmedia.com. Share your story with us. We'd love to hear it. If you are in the corporate game, coming out of the corporate game, whatever stage you're in, love to hear your story. If you have a book that is coming up soon, would love to feature you, share your book with our listeners. If this book is in alignment with essentially Black women in corporate America, there are a lot of different facets of that. If you are in the DEI space, anything within the aspects or dimensions that touch on Black women in corporate America, would love to hear from you. Please go ahead and reach out if you do have a story idea that you'd like to pitch and you'd like to present on the show. You could be the next host, the next guest. You could be the next guest on the show. So we'd love to hear from you. So that's my final announcement for now. And with that, let's get into it. So now that the sneak peek is out in the wild, we can go a little deeper into some of the topics that I discussed. And one of them, it comes up quite often. And actually, there's a LinkedIn platform. There is a LinkedIn page I follow. I think that's what they call a LinkedIn page that I check out quite often. And I saw a post, and I'm trying to protect the guilty, if you will. I saw a post from a Black woman that was pretty snide and snarky from my perspective regarding the platform or the page that was sharing content. And it just really brought all those same thoughts back again that I shared last week about the unfortunate lack of allyship within our own ranks. And it was just interesting to see the snarkiness in the comment for no particular reason that I could see. Obviously, I don't know these individuals from here to there, but it seems so random to me, especially when it was a post that was supposed to be uplifting and supposed to be supporting of Black women. And I found it interesting that this individual decided to make a negative comment on that post. And I wonder where we are as a community in terms of this general, I don't know if it's angst because we're not getting to where we need to get. And so we're taking it out on others, because I've seen a lot of that, unfortunately. And so I wonder, I'm just asking for a friend, to be honest, and the friend is me. I wonder where we are as a community that we have this need or this compulsion to lash out. And I know that we're all dealing with a lot, don't get me wrong, because on any given day, trust me, if I did or said half of the things that I really thought when I saw certain things come across any of my timelines, we'd probably be having a different conversation right now. But it just begs the question why there's this general just disdain when someone is essentially judging from the outside looking in because they feel things should be a certain way. I'm just curious about that. And it really ties in well with the whole idea of allyship that I do talk about in my book, but I also talked about it last week. And it also ties in with one of the rules in my book, Rule 4, called, the name of the rule is There Can Only Be One. And if you want the background of the story, which again, giving a little bit away, but it's okay, you're still going to get the book. I'm certain of it. So the whole idea of there can only be one comes from my obsession, probably a little bit obsessed with the show Highlander when I was growing up. So when I was young, I used to watch Highlander all the time. And the whole idea of Highlander, and I'm probably showing my age because this show came out probably in the 80s. If not, yeah, I think it was around the 80s when it came out, because I was certainly very young. Probably too young to be watching it, if I'm being honest. But the whole premise is that there are these immortal beings, and the whole goal is to reach the pinnacle of Highlanderdom, for lack of a better term, to become the ultimate Highlander. And the only way that happens is by eliminating your opponents permanently. Trying to keep it PG here. And once their opponents are eliminated, they absorb the life force of the eliminated opponent. It was sci-fi, guys, so just go with it. But the whole premise and the whole concept of the show is there can only be one. So the whole goal of every Highlander that exists is to be the only one. And anyone who is of their species needs to be eliminated. because again, as the concept of Highlander is, there can only be one. And that's where Rule 4 comes from. And I've really seen it play out quite a bit. And I think it's still almost spilling out into non-corporate spaces, because LinkedIn, for the most part, it's corporate adjacent, but it's pretty much unserious as a platform. And I love it, to be honest with you. So I'm not saying this in any kind of way that I'm saying that LinkedIn needs to do better. I am not in the camp that says, oh, this is for professional stuff only. Whatever. We're not doing that, because nobody, generally speaking, the concept of professionalism in its truest form, the way that it should be practiced, should be free of bias and discrimination and microaggressions and macroaggressions. And that doesn't even exist in the workplace. To think that we should be professional in LinkedIn should be an extension of the workplace. And it absolutely is. People come to work all the time showing pictures of their dogs, their other animals, their kids. Same difference. It's just virtual. That's all it is. It's just everybody, if you think about LinkedIn and everybody's profile as a cubicle, then you'll be okay. Because people talk about non-work things all the time when you're at work. They just do. And so I think everyone should get over it. So just think about LinkedIn as just this giant global entity where every profile is a cubicle in some corner of the entity. That's it. All right. And there you go. And I certainly have personal pictures on my cubicle walls. So same difference. That's all it is. All right. You're welcome. Anyway, so yeah. So as I'm thinking about this rule and this idea that there can only be one, it really, to me, then starts, now I see it in so many other concepts or constructs, because this individual, I'm going to paraphrase very loosely, because again, I'm not trying to have y'all trying to be investigating whatever, because I know the internet has no chill when it comes to, ooh, who said that? And what did they say? Let's go find out. So I'm going to be very broad strokes. Let's say, I'm going to try to make up something on the fly, which is going to be interesting. So this particular page had, let's say it catered to orange lovers everywhere. Yeah, I'm going to go with me here. I'll get to the point eventually. So this page is for orange lovers, and this page posts content all the time about oranges. And one particular post was about navel oranges. And this post was from someone else who had a navel orange farm. Yeah, I'm going with the whole analogy here. So they reposted someone who was talking about their navel orange farm. And an individual out of nowhere said, how lame that you're talking about navel oranges. Nobody really is interested in your navel oranges. And that's essentially what happened. But to bring the point home, what I'm saying is but then I think maybe I should also add that this particular person who said this also happened to be a navel orange farmer themselves. But the difference is that their navel orange farm, I really could have picked a better type of orange than navel, but it's too late now. I'm in too deep, so I'm just going to go with it. So their navel orange farm is nowhere near as big as this other farm. You get where I'm going? So there's a size disparity for that's just what it is. There's a size disparity, and then you start to understand the motivation behind this salty navel orange farmer. So I'm not trying to make light of it, but I am a little way, because I think sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying. So my point is that there's a lot of hateration going on. Can we say that? Do people still say that, or am I completely showing my age? There's a lot of hateration going on, guys. And like Mary J. Blige, we should stop that. Like her song says, we should not have any hateration going on. I know those are not the actual lyrics, but it's somewhere along those lines. You get what I'm trying to put down. So it was really disappointing to see that, because not because I have these rose colored glasses and believe that we all look out for each other, because I know we don't, because I see countless stories all the time of people taking each other down, and where it's like the saying goes, the call's coming from inside the house. So it's not even external, it's internal, it's within. And so it's not where I'm shocked or taken aback, but I feel like we need to start talking about it more. I think that we've started to, but we really need to lean into that, because people are coming up with some real creative ways to display their hateration of navel oranges. And I just wish that wasn't the case. And I will tell you guys, this has not been the easiest road for me at all. And it is not always glamour. It is not always easy street. Any content creator that is really doing this knows this for a fact. So I'm not telling you anything new. But if you are just someone who is just like, what is content creation? I don't even understand what that is. How do you spell that? Then I might be sharing something new with you and letting you know that it is difficult. But that doesn't mean that we should pick each other apart just because we're not quite where we need to be. There are days that I do want to just hang it up and just say, I don't even know why. Wow, I don't even see the finish line. I don't even see the light at the end of the tunnel anymore. I just see tunnel. And you have to just trust that you're heading where you need to be headed. If this is what you know you're meant to be doing, there's not always going to be arrows pointing towards where you need to go so that you feel like you're on the right track. Sometimes you're just literally wandering in the dark and hoping that you're getting to where you need to get to. And so I just wanted to really just bring that to the forefront, because I'm seeing it a lot more lately. And again, I think it could be a combination of just fatigue and exhaustion. And it's almost always easier to point the finger at others than to point the finger at ourselves, and to really think about what our shortcomings are and how we could do better and how we could move the needle forward on our behalf, not even just for others, but how we can move the needle forward for ourselves. And I hope that we can just start doing more of the internal work that we need to do, so that we can move past this, where we are, this notion that everyone has to do it the way that you're doing it. And if you make an observation, or you don't have to share every observation publicly, right? So sometimes there are things that are best left unsaid. No one benefited from the one person saying that the other person's, the state of how they run their farm doesn't make for good oranges. No one benefited from that. And so I think that we need to really start thinking about how we share and what we share with others, especially if I think this is even more so important if you are deciding to step into the space that says, I'm obviously going to stop using the navel oranges analogy now. I think you get it. But if you are someone who says, I am a leader that is here to empower Black women, who is here to really move our agenda, our issues forward, I don't know how you do that and then blatantly knock another Black woman down. And I don't know how you do that and still consider yourself someone who is there to uplift Black women. And I don't say that to say there's a very clear difference between having fundamental disagreements with Black women or having bad experiences. That is very different from just choosing to knock another Black woman down just because you can, or just because you're having a particularly bad day, or just a human, just in general. But it's just, I find it especially discouraging when I see that happening within our own camp. And my husband just told me about all the drama going on at ESPN, and this woman who was suing them for what she experienced there, the sexual harassment. And the thing that hurt me the most was her experience with the other woman, the fellow woman who was there. And I'm going to look it up because I don't want to get the name wrong, because I'm not trying to get nobody to come after me, and I just started. Yes, so Joy Taylor, the ESPN. So this was a fellow Black woman that essentially was trying to silence her in some ways, or not really being an ally or supportive of her, because she was concerned about herself and her goals and her advancement. And so I thought it was so interesting and saddening, mostly because this is what we talk about when we say that not all skin folk are kinfolk. This is exactly what we talk about, because unfortunately, and I talk about this in my book, I actually dedicated an entire participant in my book to this very concept, where we can often be destroyed by those who look like us because we let our guard down, because we are stepping into that space believing that we have a shared experience. And it's not that we don't. Let me be clear. It's not that, generally speaking, Black women don't have very similar experiences in corporate America. It's just that some of them choose to weaponize their experience. And when I say weaponize, I mean that they look at their experience, and because they are still looking to climb, they choose to see anyone who could threaten their standing or their growth and advancement as an obstacle. And so rather than helping or supporting them, they will actually prefer to tear them down. And often it's done in the most insidious way. And I have seen that happen. Not only have witnessed it, but I have experienced it. And so it's so sad to see that. And obviously these are allegations. We still don't know the full scope of the story. We have all our thoughts about it, right? As I sip on my water. Those are thoughts. And until further details and confirmations come out, we will call them allegations, because allegedly these things happened. But it certainly didn't sound outrageous. It didn't sound like something that hasn't happened before. And it was just really saddening, because I see it play out all the time. And if you think about the fact that these, essentially, if I bring it back to this LinkedIn event, this was really a macro aggression on display, if we're being honest. And I think sometimes we may think that macro aggression is only white on Black, or it has to be along racial lines. And that's definitely not the case. And so this was very much a macro aggression, what I call a lot of shade, for no particular reason other than the numbers, right? But we'll talk about that another time. And so to see that, and see that happen so publicly with such a large audience from the numbers that I saw, can you imagine what happens when no one else is looking? When it's just that person and another fellow Black woman, maybe a fellow Black woman that's looking for mentorship, a fellow Black woman that is looking for guidance and hoping to move forward. I wonder what happens when it's just one-on-one, when no one else is watching. So I say all that to say that I hope that this, and maybe we don't have to make it as dramatic as this year, but I'm going to do it just because it's a new year and it's a great time to do things different. But again, it's also, we're heading into a new day, a new week. I'm recording this late in the evening. And I said this before, my goal is to be better tomorrow than I am today. And so with that in mind, I wonder if we could just agree that maybe we can choose differently as it pertains to how we treat each other. Maybe we start there. It could be something that simple. Just wanted to throw that out there as an option. There's always an option to just say nothing. And when I say that, I don't mean don't stay silent in the face of injustice. That is not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to sometimes if you don't have anything nice to say, that is the most universal, quintessential, whatever you want to call it, is the most timeless saying ever known to man. If you've got nothing nice to say nothing at all. So with that, we've already made it to our time. It's hard to believe that it's been 30 minutes already. And I do try to keep these conversations to no more than 30 minutes. Once we have guests on the show, hopefully we will be doing that soon. Obviously, we'll go a little bit longer, but for now, I think 30 minutes with me is long enough. And probably by the time I edit this down, it's probably going to be a little bit under 30 minutes, if I'm being fully honest. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm certainly not trying to sound preachy at all, but I just had this on my heart to share. And as you may or may not have noticed, I like to let things flow when it comes to sharing on this podcast. And that's also one of the benefits and perks of being in charge and being in the driver's seat. So hopefully, though, that said, you have found value in it. Hopefully this inspires you to go get the book. I'm telling you, there is some good stuff in there. I have it on very good authority. It is a 5-star rated book on Amazon. It is on its way to the New York Times bestseller list. In fact, I'm about to share a very exclusive announcement that is not available anywhere else. And you've heard it here first. Playing the Game While Black Womaning in Corporate America, the paperback and the hardback will be released this summer. June 21st, 2025, the second day of summer, you will be able to get your hands on a physical copy of Playing the Game While Black Womaning in Corporate America. And in addition to a physical copy of Playing the Game While Black Womaning in Corporate America, there will be a book signing. Yes, there will be a book signing, and I will have more details soon. So I just wanted to drop that little gem on you. See, you never know when I'm going to drop a little something that you just were not expecting. So make sure you're always checking back, because I want to do that. Surprise, yes. Playing the Game While Black Women in Corporate America, the paperback and the hardback come out this summer, June 21st, 2025. And the first official book signings for Playing the Game While Black Women in Corporate America coming soon to a city near you. To be honest, it's going to be DC. Spoiler alert. It's going to be a local city to me, but more details on that very soon once the venue is secured and confirmed. So get excited, because I am, and I hope to meet you all very soon. Until next time, thanks for joining me. Please share and subscribe. And most importantly, until you and I speak again, take care.